Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel and learning to watercolor with me. And this is video number 4, and I'm picking up with chapter number 3 in the same book that I've been using. And we did a few of these terms and techniques in video number 3. Practiced a little bit with figuring out the different values of a color, a light wash, and we did some blending, and we did a gradient. And now we're going to do some color bleed. Well, actually, we didn't quite do a gradient. I kind of did. So I was learning to do the blending, and I think with the gradient change in value color, I kind of did gradient here in that video number 3 and didn't realize it. So we are going to jump to color bleed. However, I wanted to say I had talked about glazing, which is not a term on this page. I had talked about glazing in video number 3, and that's when you layer. So you let something dry and then you layer over it. And I was going to do glazing. This was what I created in video number 3. But I accidentally dropped water onto this just before I started the video, and then I patted it dry. So I just kind of picked up the paint, and that's actually a technique. It's called blotting and lifting. So I actually did it by accident. I didn't mean to do it there. But to kind of back up, this was sort of practicing with the value and kind of getting different blending techniques in this piece. So where we're going to pick up, that was the light wash, but also a little bit of blending. And we are going to, and that was the gradient where we just kind of pulled the one color to the bottom, and that was kind of what I had done on the bottom of this one. But we're going to pick up with blending, which is going to kind of be like this, but we're going to use 2 colors. And we're also going to do some color bleed, letting the color bleed into the, so you don't keep blending, you just let it bleed, let it do it on its own. And that's kind of what's in the directions here. And then we're also probably going to do some wet on wet and some wet on dry, and we'll see, because that could be this, where we could do wet on wet, wet on dry. And where she talks about glazing is in layering, which is on page 46. Layering or glazing is the same thing. Now, I don't know if we'll get that far today, and you can see here, blotting and lifting, which is actually what happened when I dropped that little bit of water there. It's kind of an interesting, you could probably do something with that. So we're going to back up, and we're going to do a little bit of this blending. And I am sticking with the same paper that I've been using. I could probably even practice on the back. There's a little bit of dirt, but I could practice on the back of this one. And I will tell you also, in all these terms and techniques in this chapter 3, she hasn't talked about a paintbrush size. So I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm just kind of using whatever brush I have in my hand, I've just been using. And I'm going to stick with the Melon Mambo and the Blueberry Bushel, but I'm going to grab a couple yellows and oranges. And I'm going to grab, so this is pumpkin pie. So this is the ink refill, pumpkin pie. And then I also grabbed saffron, and which is a kind of a pale yellow. But I'm going to start with Melon Mambo and pumpkin pie, and I'm going to try to blend those together. Or I don't know, maybe I'll do the yellow. Let's do the yellow. So what she's trying to have us do is create like a sunset sky. And so this is, I think, saturated pigment, and touch the edge of the brush and pull the color down. Then she wants you to take the other color and pull toward the other one. So pink at the top of the paper, and then she wants you to take yellow and pull it to the next and meet with the pink, which is kind of what we did in, let me think, it was the one, oh, it's on the back of this one. It's kind of what we did here. I had pink and I met to the blue. So now we're gonna try to do like a little sunset. And same thing, I'm just gonna pick a paintbrush. I'm gonna start with, so this is a 6 round is what I'm gonna start with. And paper is dry. And I'm actually gonna grab a clean little well here. And we'll do the So Saffron. I'm just gonna put 1 drop. And I'm gonna use the Melon Mambo that's actually in this little well. And we're just gonna come right back to that. So that sat from the last video, and all you have to do is, you know, re-wet it. And I'm gonna start small and just kind of and at this point you can see it's a little bit, whoops, sorry about that. It's a little bit rough, so my brush was drying out. And now I'm gonna clean this off. And I'm gonna start with the yellow. And then I'm just gonna try to let the yellow run out, but now it's probably too, I don't have enough water on the brush. I see how that could make a really nice sunset. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick up more of this pink. I'm gonna add just water, no paint. Or ink rather, I guess I should. And then I'm gonna clean my brush, pick up some yellow, and I'm gonna start at the bottom, and I'm gonna add water. And I'm actually gonna pull, I don't know, I read this chapter quite a while ago, and then I tried to read through it again to really kind of see what I should be doing. So this, for some reason, kind of just stuck to the paper, kind of nasty. I don't know why, but I can see a really pretty sunset blend in there. So it worked a little better when I added water, and actually added water to this, like the first time, the second time, and kind of kept adding water. So that actually came out a little bit better. And I'm gonna rinse my brush, and so that's really the same thing. She's just calling this blending still, blending colors, and really kind of practicing, you know, heavy to light, and getting that practice in there. Next is going to be the color bleed, where we don't keep painting, we just let the colors bleed. And I'm actually going to try it first on this bottom. And I'm going to keep doing the same. I'm going to keep using that number 6 brush. And I'm going to go with, let's pick orange, something we can kind of see. With a little more contrast. So we're going to pick orange, or it's going to be pumpkin pie, but it's going to look pretty orange. And let's pick blueberry bushel. And actually we still have some blueberry bushel from the last video. And if it dries out, you can definitely reconstitute it. So she basically is in the directions is saying paint a circle with the one color. So I'm going to paint a circle. I'm going to pick up more water too. And she says to paint a circle. And you have to keep these wet. You can't let this dry. And then she says paint the next one just slightly touching this one. And not staying too closely to, or not getting too close. So it's bleeding, but not quite like her picture in the textbook. So maybe I had too much ink. So let's try it again on, we'll grab a new piece. And maybe I had too much paint and not enough water. So we'll do a circle. I'll rinse my brush. And then she says to pick up the next and get close to it. So I probably didn't have enough water on the brush, and there was like too much ink, because now this is bleeding very much like her textbook. Ooh, I love that. This would make like a cute butterfly. So if you did, you know, some, oops, I just put blue ink in that. So if you did like, just kind of like a couple sets of wings. I'm just doing this quickly. Oops, that went too far. But then you could do some cool bleeds just by simply touching the edges of those wings. Yeah, so you could make some really cool flowers and butterflies. So that definitely takes practice, that bleeding. I think that's much better than the first 2 attempts. Definitely more water, but I did remember from the textbook, she said you don't want to stay within the ink too long. You just want to touch it and don't keep painting and don't keep brushing, and that will allow that bleed. And it's just kind of doing its own thing and just kind of bleeding into no control, right? Like you'd have to probably dry this if you wanted it to stay the way it is. But I like that a lot. And then, so I'm just rinsing out my brush, getting it ready. We'll do the next one, which is, and then she actually just at the bottom just had that you could do it with different shapes. So the first one, she said to do circles, but you can also do it with other shapes. Obviously, you know, if you wanted to do an animal or something botanical, like a flower. All right, the next page is called Wet on Wet. And that is where you are going to be wetting the paper. And so I'm going to grab a new piece. And I think you could probably wet this a number of ways. You could probably wet it with a large brush. I think I'm just gonna spray it with water. And I'm gonna look at the book and see if she actually recommends how to actually wet your paper. Just says take clean water or a light wash of pigment on your brush and paint a circle. It says the amount of water you're looking to have on your paper will create a light shine when you tilt the paper. And this is referred to as the sheen. And then she says after that, drop any color onto that wet surface and watch it explode. And then she's got tips on the bottom. So what I'm gonna actually do, I'm just gonna spray my paper. And we're just gonna randomly pick up, I don't remember, I think I rinsed that, yeah. So we're just gonna kind of, oh, love, yes. Nice. Oh, it kind of looks like bolts of lightning. Yeah, that is very cool. And let's pick up, I'll pick up some pink. I don't have a lot of pink here, but yeah, we'll add some more. We'll add some more Melon Mambo. Oh, that can be fun. My paper was a little bit dry there. All right, let's have some fun. We'll pick up some pumpkin pie. I must not have enough ink. And then we'll pick up some of that yellow. That's really fun. So she does have some tips about this because mine just kind of looks like dots. She basically says to definitely be aware of how much water is on the paper and the brush. And if it's too wet, it's not gonna explode like this. It's probably just gonna kind of run. If it's too dry, kind of like this corner, this paper was a lot more dry up here, and then there it's kind of running. So definitely the more wet your paper is, the more this is gonna blend and run together. And definitely it just says to kind of play around. This is kind of cool. I think I'm gonna just let this go and let this dry. And the next is that wet on dry paper. And I'm gonna grab one more sheet and pick up some of this ink here. And then kind of staying within, let me rinse that brush out. So then wet on dry, and then she's saying to take the sunset that we created. So she's basically saying to take this, and it is dry. I didn't get too much wet water on that. So it is dry, and then she says to, take a color and add detail to the dried landscape or dried sunset. So she has a palm tree in black. And then a tip says, make sure your paper is fully dry before you paint on top. If you add paint to an area when parts are still wet, you may get some funky marks on your paper. So I don't know if I can do palm trees like that. So so this is dry. And we can pick up some black out of my watercolor in here. So I think I have a black in here. I'll test this out. Let me see what this is. Yeah, it's like a charcoal. Yeah, that would work. Let me spray that, get it pretty well wet. All right, and my video stopped, so I'm gonna try to splice this together the best that I can from where it stopped. So we were on the painting the sunset, and I'm gonna move a couple of these out of the way. And we had our black wet, and we had some black on here. And I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna do the sunset on the left, because my yellow seems darker here, like there would be more sand here or something along those lines. And I still have this 6 that I was using, and I think I might go with something a little bit smaller for the branches. So we're gonna try a number, what is this one? And this is just a small round, so I don't know, but definitely half the size of a 6. So I'm gonna take the black and kind of she kind of has like a black silhouette beach scene. And then she kind of just very gently is sort of dragging it like that. And then her trees, she kind of has making a V. So, and they're of course wider at the trunk. So I just did my tip and then pressed. And then this is where I'm going to switch to that smaller brush to do the branches. And I can still see yellow behind my black, so I could probably have gone a little heavier with the black. And I'm not going to draw these in. I'm just going to kind of do it myself. Without penciling anything in. And I'm going pretty heavy. I'm putting quite a bit of paint on my brush. And then I'm just using the tips to kind of sweep those branches up. I don't know. She has 5 branches, and I was trying to keep it within that frame. And I probably should have gone outside the frame. All right, let's try a little bit. Branches here. And I still have quite a bit of paint without much water on my brush. So that doesn't seem dark enough to me. So I'm gonna add a little bit more water to my black and maybe just get it a little more saturated. Oops, that's probably a lot. Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, they look a little, they look like interesting palm trees. I think probably they could be maybe almost like thicker. Let's see if we can like add some thickness. Yeah, I think I like adding the thickness to those. And then I also, trying to get it thicker, I added, you know, more paint too. So I don't know if you can see those difference. So that's actually, because it is black on that pink and yellow, it's hiding the pink and yellow quite a bit. So that's kind of cute. I could also go over this, but I actually kind of like that you can see the sand, you know, the yellow through that black. So I kind of like that. All right, so that was wet on dry because this had dried from when we previously did that. And then I think we are going to stop the video here. So this is still, we're still in chapter 3, but these have dried quite a bit where this was that bleeding. So that's dried quite a bit, and that's really, really interesting and really pretty. And then this has dried as well. And then the next few things in this chapter 3 are what we'll use this. So we will come back to this original layering. So what we're going to do is more layering on that dry. We're also with that same, we're going to do the blotting and lifting, which I had accidentally done. We're going to do blotting and lifting. And then the fun things kind of are back in here, fun techniques, adding salt. So I don't know if I'll do that to that blue scene, but we'll create something and add salt to it. Which actually it has to be a wet background anyway. So we will be doing something new to add salt. And then different dry brush techniques where you have very little water and then dropping the water. And then she goes over some beginning watercolor struggles. So that will be video number 5. Watermarks, watercolor blooms. And it gets us into chapter 4, color theory and color mixing. So we'll do another video before we get to chapter 4. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I really hope you guys are trying this and possibly painting along with me. And please comment, let me know if you are, and let me know if you bought the book too. I'm having a really good time with the book. And till next time, we'll see ya.